Order. John Mann to move the motion.
It's a pleasure to serve under your...
Before the Honourable Member begins, can I just advise him and other Honourable Members that, in line with the House's sub-judice resolution, no direct reference should be made to the substance of criminal or civil legal proceedings which are current, that upon which a judgment has not yet been issued, or on which appellate proceedings are active. Clearly there are still police investigations current which relate to the matters which the Honourable Member is intending to raise, and I'm sure that the Honourable Member is aware that the House would not want him to prejudice those investigations by anything he might say here today. John Mann.
Thank you, and I can assure you that I have no intention of prejudicing any investigations. I am keen to challenge those commentators who say that there's some big conspiracy to hunt out and name people who are innocent, and that everything's been overstated when it comes to historic child abuse. Some have got quite a track record in saying that, and I would say to them, well, Rolf Harris, Stuart Hall, Max Clifford, the former Bishop of Lewes, 1,400 children in Rotherham, in Derby, in Northampton, in Halifax, in Newcastle, in Oxford, in Telford, in Peterborough, in North Yorkshire, in Wrexham, bishops in Belgium, in Norway, in Austria, in fact all over the world. There are a spate of arrests, there are a spate of huge numbers of convictions of people involved in child abuse from the past, and so those who say that somehow this is something being dreamt up by people are factually wrong. My own involvement began in 1988 when, looking at construction corruption in the London Borough of Lambeth, I was told that boys from children's homes, when they left, that's boys over 16 therefore, were being cajoled into prostitution, and that was being done through various bars in the borough. There were suggestions of how and where. That was all given to the police, and I was told that there's a place I'd never heard of called Dolphin Square, and that's one of the places where there were parties where those boys were going involving members of Parliament. And I refrained from the detail that I was given. That was given to the police at the time. It's been given many times since, and the police told me about a year into that investigation that somebody on high had curtailed the investigation and stopped it. I know, I was there, that's what happened. And then several years later, Inspector Clive Driscoll, looking at a different sex abuse scandal, possibly related, but a different one in the same borough, came to see me. Came in 1994. His investigations, he personally was taken off them and told to stop investigating, and in between, it's now transpires that at Coronation Buildings in 1980 in Lambeth, or just before, in 1980 in Lambeth, another police investigation was curtailed, in this case special branch moving in and stopping the investigation. So we know there 3 separate investigations mysteriously disappear, and in one case I was there when that happened. Now, I have no intention of naming names, not because of the advice given, but because in fact that isn't appropriate. I don't know who's guilty. That's not my job. It's not the job of any MP, and I've never done that, and let me therefore correct the record. One newspaper, the Mail on Sunday, suggested in the past that I'd named a Member of Parliament. That is factually inaccurate. That is not true. That story is fabricated, and they took it, I think as a spoiler, from a newspaper called The Sun, who said that 2 MPs had made various allegations. Well, not true. There aren't 2 MPs, and I am not an MP involved in doing that. If I was, then I wouldn't have named anybody. I would have given the evidence to the police, and I'd have kept my mouth shut. And it is fair to say I have given evidence, or information, in some cases evidence, sometimes information, to various police forces, and some of it involves prominent people. I'm not naming those people, I haven't done and I won't be, because it's for the police to investigate and put in front of the prosecution and the courts if they feel that's appropriate. My criticism, complaint, is where that doesn't happen. And so I think it's important that those matters are clarified immediately. The scale of what is going on, there was a further arrest in North Wales just this afternoon, I believe, but so far in North Wales there have been a whole range of people arrested and jailed. That is the case in different parts of the country. I think, quoting from Simon Bailey, Chief Constable of Norfolk Constabulary, there are at the moment 89 national or local politicians, 145 radio, TV and film persons, 35 music industry persons, 15 from the world of sport under investigation. There are 2016 others, including religious institutions, teachers, care workers. That is what the police said to the Society of Editors on the 19th of October this year. And the numbers of arrests, Operation Palio in North Wales has made over 40 arrests. In Lambeth, people have been jailed, i.e. successfully prosecuted. So the idea that this stuff is in some way fanciful, made up, is again not proven by the facts. The commentators suggesting that are wrong, and very sadly wrong. It's about Nottinghamshire. In Nottinghamshire, a gentleman came to see me. He flew in from Canada for a 20-minute meeting. He'd not been in this country for 30 years. For an allegation in relation to the Ashley Children's Home in my constituency that he knew and I knew could not be prosecuted. Wasn't possible. 20 minutes, flew in and flew out just to tell me that. He wasn't making it up. The woman claiming to have been abused in Skegby Hall, near my constituency, and in various other locations, is not making it up. The dozens of children at Beechwood, in Nottingham, in detail making allegations, dozens of them, are not making it up. Those who have come to me in relation to schools and churches, those who have come in relation to family abuse, including rape as young children, are not making it up. People do not go to their own MP making this kind of thing up. The man who came to me, alleging that he, age 11, was forced to work in a foundry full-time, but before that age 8 onwards was forced to work in a field. Precise locations, precise names, his full file, precise records there. He's not making it up. He's telling the truth about what happened, and that whole issue of children being sold as slave labour onto farms is a scandal yet to emerge in this country that's part of this historic problem, and a very big one, and more will emerge from that. But that isn't a conspiracy. The conspiracy is the conspiracy of silence at the time, the conspiracy of connivance, the conspiracy of cover-up. They're the conspiracies that are there, and you know what the man enslaved wants more than anything? Strangely, because he never went to school, he can't read and write. He wants literacy lessons, and my battle at the moment, I have a letter today on it, arrived in the last hour from a county council that's given him 5 literacy lessons, and he's questioning whether he needs more when he wasn't allowed to go to school because he was enslaved. That's the cost of child abuse in this country. And you know, it's about people living with this stuff today, like him. People whose lives have been diverted, many going abroad. Some actually have channeled it into great success by being single-minded in their goals in life. But others very damaged, and some lives, many lives, destroyed and totally destroyed. But these campaigners are not going to be going away because they know what happened. And I'm fortunate, I've never been beaten as a kid. I wasn't sold, I wasn't raped as a child. But I know and meet lots of people who have. I have people coming, the names of whom jaw-dropping, who have been. They're not going to go public for lots of reasons, good reasons, that's their choice. But the numbers coming forward, the numbers who've confided in me is extraordinary. Not asking for anything to be done, but supporting the campaign, not wanting to relive their trauma. It is absolutely phenomenal, the scale of the problem, and therefore to the sceptics, and there'll be some in what I'm about to say, all I can say is open your eyes, open your ears and see what is going on, because what's under the surface is far bigger and will always be far bigger than what has emerged. My approach is to give everything to the police. Absolutely everything. The stuff I've seen in recent times relating to the Dickens dossier also incorporates stuff that's relevant to other police forces, North Wales and others. I won't go into any details because that would prejudice those investigations, but dozens of documents. Hugely important. There were 2 Dickens files. File number 1, I've seen someone who, because of the Official Secrets Act, has not come forward, who saw the first Dickens file. There were approximately 16 names on it. They were cross-party, they weren't all well-known names, some of them were. That was research done by Geoffrey Dickens. I don't know whether it's true or not. I do know that he gave it to Liam Britton in November 1983. On the 18th of January 1984, a second person gave a second file to Geoffrey Dickens. I have a copy of that file. It's what I call the second Dickens dossier. The police have a copy of it. That file was provided by 2 former Conservative MPs, Sir Anthony Raikes, former MP for Liverpool Garston, and Commander Anthony Courtney, a former British Naval Intelligence Officer, former MP for Harrow East. They provided the information. What was going on was an internal battle within the Conservative Party. A battle within the Monday Club. They were both key figures in the Monday Club. A huge battle with a new organisation at the Young Monday Club. They were one part of that factional battle. This file emerged because of that. I don't think they thought that what they described in the file as paedophilia was particularly important, other than to do with the other side. The details that are concerned, the allegations made, and the fact they weren't investigated, there is significance. The file is unambiguous. This is an original. I've spoken and met and got a copy from the person who personally handed it to Geoffrey Dickens, who then personally gave it to Leon Britton. And what it says is, first line, G.K. Young heads up a power-like faction known as Tory Action. G.K. Young, George Kennedy Young, was Deputy Director of MAT's, long dead. The allegations are that he manipulated a group of people, and that within that there were paedophile rings. And it goes into detail who it's alleged were involved and where. And I won't give all the locations because some would be, I think, sensitive and would potentially identify people. But London is one, Greater Manchester is another, North Yorkshire is a third one. Though, and I should stress that for any journalist, Mr. Leon Britton is fairly obviously not in this file or the other Dickens file. Geoffrey Dickens wasn't stupid. He didn't give a file to Leon Britton naming Leon Britton, but he had lots of other names within there. This file was given, and it is intriguing to say the least, with the information contained with it and the allegations, which include allegations of sex with children, and name names of people alleged to be involved, and suggest locations, including one precise location and another third-party organisation directly involved, which again I won't name, because that I think they'll come out, there's no reason why they should, but at the moment that wouldn't help the police if they came out today. But a precise location, that's in the file. It's pretty straightforward police investigation to look into that. There wasn't one. And the question is, why not? There is, within it, I think it's worth saying one other thing about George Kennedy Young, because George Kennedy Young was involved in many dubious activities. He formed something called Unison, which was some kind of private army he tried to get going. I've seen a range of background documents that will be of interest to anyone campaigning on the Shrewsbury pickets and on infiltration of the miners' strike, with names that would correlate with that. There is a lot of allegations about him attempting to undermine both the Heath government and the Wilson government. He was clearly a manipulator. He's rather key to what was going on. I don't know why he's so prominent. I don't know why the Society for Individual Freedom that he set up is named either in this, but he is a significant figure, and it may give some reason as to why things then disappeared. Now, there was this review by Mr. Wanless and Mr. Whittam, in that the Prime Minister said that their report meant that people looking for conspiracy theories would have to look elsewhere. I'm not looking for a conspiracy theory. To me, this stuff's actually fairly simple. There are always simple explanations, but we don't anymore need to look elsewhere. This is a copy of part of the Dickens file, what I call Dickens dossier number 2. This went to Leon Britton at the time, and we need to know why this then disappeared, what happened to it, where the Home Office investigation into it went, why the file disappeared when, within this, there are such serious allegations being made. It is incongruous, absolutely incongruous, that with the information in here, there could be no investigation. It is not possible that this would not raise all sorts of issues. I could, but it would be inappropriate, reveal more from other documents that I have seen from the same person, which would suggest that there's quite a lot of people who are aware of these issues. I am certain that there are people who are on the periphery, not involved in child abuse, not involved in anything that could be described as child abuse, but a bit too close for comfort in terms of embarrassment, who knew some of the things that might have been going on, who have suspicions, some of whom are named, and I think are guilty of nothing other than a loose connection of being at various events, of being at various venues. But they know things. It is clear from the correspondence I've seen that some of those people must know things. There's a lot of people. Part of the problem is, Chairman, that there are... The age of consent at the time was 16. When we say paedophilia, most people think we're talking about under 16s. At the time, the term could be used for 16 to 21-year-old men. The issue in terms of Dolphin Square and Lambeth was about the allegations that there were members of Parliament paying for sex with boys over 16 who had been procured from Lambeth children's homes after they left the children's homes. I'd call that major sleaze. At the time it was illegal. In here it also alleges things with children younger than that. I don't know, I haven't got a clue whether any of that is true or what bit is true. But there's sufficient there for a major police investigation. And that's why it's critical, absolutely critical, that the lid is lifted in relation to this, of knowing where the file went, why it disappeared, and what's going to happen now. The original is with the police, but why did the Home Office and the whole of government fail to come up with this document when it was given to Leon Britton in 1984? I think the answer to that question will unlock part of the cover-up of the time, will explain it, and will help the police. It's imperative that government now reopens the Wanless-Whittam investigation to see why they weren't given this file at the time by someone from within the Home Office, and why civil servants at the time didn't cooperate.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Ms Vaz, and it is a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. I think it's the first time that I have done so, so it is a great pleasure to see you in the chair. And can I also congratulate the Honourable Member for Bassett Law for securing this debate today and for the points that he has raised. Both today and previously, he has been a tenacious campaigner on this matter, and he's very determined in this issue. Before I deal with the specifics of the topic of this debate, which is the Wanless Review and the Dickens file, it is important for me to highlight that tackling child sexual abuse is a top priority for this government. Victims should, and increasingly do, feel able to come forward to report abuse to the police and get the support they need. We've been consistently clear that where an allegation of child sexual abuse is made, whether it occurred now or in the past, it must be thoroughly investigated by the police so that the facts can be established.